Rain lashed against the windshield, thunder rumbling like the world itself was angry. In the middle of that furious storm, a young woman stood alone on the roadside, her car broken down, her clothes soaked, and her phone dead. When a truck slowed beside her, headlights cutting through the rain, she hesitated. The driver rolled down the window, a man with tired eyes, rugged features, and the kind of calm that made her heart trust him instantly. "Need a place to stay till the storm passes?" he asked gently. She nodded, shivering. She didn't tell him who she was, the CEO of one of the biggest corporations in the city, a woman who was used to penthouses and chauffeurs. Tonight, she was just a stranger in the storm. What neither of them knew was that this one night would change both of their lives forever. The warmth of his small wooden house was a sharp contrast to the chaos outside. The man, Jack, moved with quiet efficiency, handing her a towel, starting a fire, putting on a pot of tea. She watched him, noticing how his shirt sleeves were rolled up, his hands rough and strong, his movements full of care. "You can dry off near the fire. I'll grab you something warm to wear," he said, heading toward a small room. "Thank you," she replied softly. Her voice trembled, not just from the cold, but from the strange feeling of comfort in a stranger's home. His daughter, Lily, a small girl with curly brown hair, peeked from behind the hallway. "Daddy, who's she?" Jack smiled. "She's just someone who needed a little help tonight, sweetheart." Lily's face lit up. "Then she can have my blanket. It's the warmest." The woman's heart melted. She knelt, accepting the blanket like a priceless gift. "Thank you, sweetheart. You're very kind." Later, sitting by the fire, she learned Jack was a single dad, raising Lily alone after losing his wife 3 years ago. He worked double shifts at a mechanic's shop, barely scraping by, yet his home felt rich, with laughter, with love, with peace. She hadn't felt that kind of warmth in years. He didn't ask about her past, didn't pry about her fancy clothes or the luxury car she'd abandoned. He just made her tea and told her stories to keep her smiling. For the first time in her life, someone treated her not like a powerful woman, but simply like a person. That night, while Lily slept in her arms, she looked at Jack across the flickering firelight and whispered, "You have no idea how much this means to me." He smiled. Storms don't last forever. Sometimes they just blow someone the right way. She didn't know why those words made her eyes burn with tears. The storm passed, but she didn't leave right away. Her car was being repaired, and Jack insisted she stay until it was safe. Each morning, she'd watch him pack lunch for Lily, fix a broken cabinet, and somehow still smile despite the exhaustion. He had a quiet strength that spoke louder than any wealth she'd ever known. She found herself drawn to the simplicity of their life, the shared breakfasts, the small laughter, the quiet evenings watching the rain. She started helping around the house, cooking, reading stories to Lily, and even helping Jack organize his small garage workshop. What she didn't expect was how naturally her heart began to fit there, but she carried a secret. Every time she got a phone call from her assistant, she stepped outside to hide the truth. She was supposed to be in the city, running a billion-dollar deal, not hiding away in a humble house with a kind man who didn't even know her name was Claire Summers, the youngest CEO in her company's history. The guilt grew heavier each day. She wanted to tell him, but every time he looked at her with those honest, trusting eyes, her courage failed. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Jack turned to her. "You've got that look again," he said. "What look?" "The one people get when they're standing at a crossroads." She smiled sadly. "Maybe I am." Jack nodded. "Whatever it is, don't run from it. Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the best places." His words hit deep. She knew then she couldn't lie anymore. The next morning, she told him everything. About who she was, what she did, and why she hadn't said it sooner. His expression shifted from surprise to disbelief to quiet hurt. "So you were never just passing through?" "I was," she said softly, "but I never expected to find something I didn't know I was missing." He looked at her, torn between admiration and distance. "People like you live in a different world. And people like me, we can't afford to dream like that." She wanted to argue, but he walked away before she could. That night, she sat by the fire again, alone this time, tears rolling down her cheeks. For once, the power she held meant nothing. The silence of that small house was louder than the boardrooms she commanded in days past. Her car was ready, and she had to return to her life. Lily cried when she left, clutching her hand. "Will you come back?" She knelt down, her voice breaking. "I'll try, sweetheart." She drove away with tears blurring her vision, her heart heavier than ever. Weeks later, after finalizing a major deal, she sat in her office surrounded by glass, luxury, and loneliness. Every time the rain hit her window, she remembered Jack's words, "Storms don't last forever." Without thinking, she picked up her phone and made a call to the mechanic shop in that small town. "Hi, is Jack there?" Moments later, his familiar voice came through. "Claire?" She hesitated. "I've been thinking. About you. About Lily. About the night you offered me shelter when you didn't have to." A pause. Then a quiet laugh. "We were just talking about you. Lily made a drawing, 3 people and a dog we don't even have yet." Her heart swelled. "Maybe we could make that real," she whispered. "If you'd let me." Jack didn't answer right away. But then she heard him smile through the phone. "Storm's over, Claire. Maybe it's time we see what comes after." And as rain began to fall softly outside her office window, she realized sometimes love doesn't come from the world you build. It comes from the one that takes you in when you're lost, offers you shelter, and reminds you what it means to truly come home.